Next up, at UFC 314, we have the main event of the evening. We have Alexander Volkanovski fighting for his belt back. A statistic that Jacob sent earlier said there have only been 6 fighters in the history of the UFC to fight for a title after back-to-back losses, and only one of those fighters actually won that belt. So Alexander Volkanovski is only the 7th person. Randy Couture.
For an interim belt.
For an interim belt. Well, this is actually a real belt, not an interim one. Alexander Volkanovski is the 7th person in history to fight for a title after back-to-back losses, and he will make history if he wins this fight. And patience ended up being a virtue for him because he was desperate, dire. I want that fight back. I want to fight Ilya. And thank God they didn't run that back because Ilya was going to slaughter him again, and that would have been the end of him. But here he is, fighting a younger kid, a kid who hasn't fought 5 rounds really at this level, fighting somebody that isn't full at the experience and certainly isn't at his full potential yet. This version of Diego Lopes is not the best version of Diego Lopes. That is yet to come. So if Alexander Volkanovski is going to win his belt back, this is basically the last opportunity to do so and the best matchup he's going to get. Alexander Volkanovski is 26-4 in his career, 2-3 in his last 5, and he is riding those back-to-back knockout losses. He's taking on Diego Lopes, 26-6 in his career, 5-0 in his last 5. He's getting his first main event. We all know Volk by now. Long-time featherweight champion of the world, fight IQ at an unbelievable level, insane cardio, good technical striking, good takedown, literally good at everything, and he can do all of it for as long as he needs to. He averages almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's coming off that KO loss to Ilia Topuria. Before that was the short notice, off the couch, drinking, not training KO loss to Islam Makhachev. A lot of people, myself included, feel like after he got knocked out from Islam, he needed to take more time off. He didn't. Came right back to Ilia, and then, in less than a year, ended up getting knocked out twice. Taking on Diego Lopes, we all know by now, very dangerous grappler. He started his career as a grappler, made his name for himself as a grappler. He is now a very good striker as well, and coaching some of the better fighters out of Mexico. And he doesn't have the best takedowns in the world or the best takedown defense, but his BJJ is very, very good. He's a well-rounded guy. He throws heavy shots. I know we've all seen that highlight of him lighting up the mitts. We all watched him basically knock Brian Ortega out cold, only to knock him back into consciousness. The big knock on Diego Lopes is going to be his cardio. People are going to talk about he was fading, and we watched Dan Ige step up on short notice. Let me just remind you, in that fight, that dude went through the same shit as everybody else. He heard his fight was canceled and then back on, and the weight class changed twice. So he went through some shit, so he kind of gets a pass there. He didn't look as faded in the Brian Ortega fight. And the reason I mention that is because there seems to be 2 narratives here. It's either Diego Lopes knocks out Alexander Volkanovski early, or Volkanovski takes over and runs him down. And that's it. Those are the 2 narratives. You get Volk by decision or Diego by finish. I am going to go on the Diego side. And the reality is, I understand that Alexander Volkanovski's losses were to Ilia Topuria, best 45-pounder on the planet, Islam Makhachev, best 55-pounder on the planet. But the problem is, age is coming for him. He's getting older. He's slowing down. Getting knocked out 2 times in a year and a half is only bad news. I don't think Alexander Volkanovski is going to be able to survive the early chaos that Diego Lopes brings. I don't think Volkanovski is going to just take over after giving up what is likely a 10-8 round in the first or the second. And unless Diego Lopes comes out here trying to conserve energy, not doing what he's supposed to do, I do think there's a changing of the guard here, and that's not because I don't love Alexander Volkanovski. The dude is an all-time talent at this weight class, an all-time personality in the UFC ever, but I do think age is going to be a problem here. He's old. He's worn out. Diego Lopes is just going to be too much at this point in his career. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, I respect everything that Alexander Volkanovski brings into this fight. His accolades, who he used to be as a fighter. There's no doubting the greatness and the people that Volkanovski has beat. I mean, he's an all-time great, considered one of the greatest featherweights, if not the greatest featherweight of all time, and he'll never lose that. No matter what he does, he'll never lose who he was as a fighter. But one of the reasons why I was so high on Ilya in that Volkanovski fight was I don't think he's not going to be ready for that speed. there's certain speed that you think you're ready for, and especially as you get older, Angelo, I think, I know this better than anybody. I was a very high level Call of Duty player, right? And one of the first things that, you can laugh all you want, but I mean, the tape was there, the YouTube page, everything, right? The first thing that goes, and people in the chat will agree with me, and Angelo's probably going to make fun of me, but if you're like a professional video game player, especially Call of Duty, your like career basically is almost over by your late 20s, because your reflexes just start at that high level, when your reflexes need to be like a fucking millisecond, boom, 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 right? Because there's not a greater sport than fucking Call of Duty, I'll tell you that, right? The highest level of athletes are playing Call of Duty on the main stage land. But your reactions start slowing down, and when you're in a fight and you start losing those reactions, the speed starts catching up to you. And I think that's what's kind of happening, is Alexander's seeing this stuff that he's supposed to be happening, but he's just not being able to react fast enough defensively. This whole notion that Diego Lopes isn't going to have the cardio is like one of the most, the biggest question mark things. People are just assuming that Diego Lopes is going to get tired. Didn't you see him against Danny Gang in the 3rd round? Hey, buddy, didn't you see him? He was just laying there, buddy. He had 2 rounds wrapped up, and he was laying on his back in a 3-round fight that it was a weird week. Came back against Brian Ortega because he knew those were the question marks there. He knew people saw him, were like, oh, man, this guy can't be a champion. Doesn't have 5-round cardio. Came against Brian Ortega. Nearly smoked him in the 1st round, chased the finish, blew his load, went to the 2nd round. You know how many fucking significant strikes he threw in the 3rd round of the Brian Ortega fight, which is the last fight we've seen him to see if his cardio has improved, Angelo? Do you know how many fucking significant strikes he threw in that 3rd round? Was he tired and gassed and on his back? Fuck no. That motherfucker threw 103 significant strikes in the 3rd round of that fight. You know how many times Volkanovski's done that in his career? 0 fucking times. Diego Lopes' cardio is going to be fine. Even if this goes 5 rounds, I think the speed's going to be too much. But honestly, I think he comes forward. Volk's probably going to have a wrestling game plan that isn't going to work, because Diego has just leveled up his wrestling to a level that I think is going to surprise everybody in this fight. And when the takedowns don't work and he tries to stay on the outside with a calf kick, Diego's going to come in with that pressure. The speed, the power is going to surprise Volkanovski once again. We're going to get an and new. Diego has been dreaming, believing, and now he is going to make it happen. I've been a Diego fan since the Mozvar Evloev fight. I sat there and I said, dude, guys, he might win this fucking fight. Diego's been that dude from day one, and he's going to prove everybody wrong. All these fucking Volkanovski, he's going to get fucking tired. I wouldn't be surprised Diego just wins a 49-46 on this guy. I'm going Diego. I think he fucking knocks him out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have cardio concerns, because Diego's cardio is not very good, right? That's not the concern. It's more Volkanovski's cardio is unbelievable. But I hear what you're saying, because I also
he's
think
never had cardio. It was one fight against Evloev. The dude never fucking stopped moving against Joe Anderson, and he was just out controlled. And I just don't think Volkanovski's going to get the takedowns he thinks he's going to get. And if you're not controlling this guy on the ground, he's shown, guess what? You're kind of fucked.
The hands were impressive. Brian Ortega is notably one of the most durable guys in the UFC. And Diego Lopes if Diego Lopes walked away instead of knocking him back into consciousness, he would have knocked him out. But he
speed. I mean,
hit him again and woke him
fast, man. He is so fast, and it's not one of those I got to get in there. I think the biggest thing is, and what's going to be important in this fight is, Diego can build into fights so fast, and he finds his timing so fast that he doesn't let people start making those reads. And if he is a little bit more hesitant and Volkanovski starts to build into who he used to be, it's probably going to be an issue, right? But Diego makes reads so fast. Like that Ortega was just boom, boom. I mean, right off the rip, it's so fast that I don't think Volkanovski is going to be able to get comfortable before he's getting hit. And once he's getting hit, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you touched on something there. My only real concern, so you and I both picked Diego Lopes here. My only real concern would be if he's kind of frozen by the moment. We haven't seen that, right? He's had some pretty big moments.
There's not. He knows he was fucking made for this. There is nothing but belief behind that guy. Yeah. There's not gonna be. He's gonna come forward and he's fucking gonna land some shit. I mean, this kid is fucking. He knows what his fucking destiny is. And he was in the corner of Alexa Grasso. I mean, when she pulled off that big upset, he's right there. He's been there. He's seen it in front. He's seen that feeling, and he knows it's possible. And I'm not saying it's that big of an upset. Obviously, he might even flip to a favorite, but the way some people are acting, it's like he's a fucking plus 300 dog. But
well, the funniest part about all this is he lost to Movsar Evloev, who is undefeated and could have very easily gotten this fight. And the UFC's like, nah, you're boring as fuck.
And it's funny.
That,
the only reason he got that fight was Bryce Mitchell's fight. Bryce Mitchell pulled out last second because actually Bryce Mitchell was going to be my lock of the week versus Evloev. Pulled out. And now Diego loses the fight to Evloev, is the main event on a card that Bryce is fighting on, and Evloev hasn't lost since then, but he's not fighting for the title. It's a very weird situation.
It is fun. I mean, if that doesn't show you that UFC doesn't like boring wrestlers, then it is what it is. Like, he literally has a win over this guy and hasn't lost since. It's not like he lost. So, either way, this is a great main event. $8,000 in DraftKings Fantasy, $8,200. Listen, whoever wins is going to score really well. I'm on the Diego side, so I'll spend the $8,000. 5 rounds to score in, or maybe he gets it done early.
Oh, yeah. People were talking about his tits, his fucking tick, too, because Rogan was, like, freaking out. I don't know how. It's so obvious when these people don't watch tape, when they start talking about stuff like this, like when fighters have ticks. You'll see Diego Lopes, when he's got his hands up, his backhand, he'll keep going like this to his neck, and Rogan's like, I think something's wrong with his throat. And John Anik had to step in and be like, no, it's just what he does it. He said that, I guess he's got a scar that when it starts sweating, it itches a lot. And just in training and stuff, he's always like itching his fucking, so it just became a thing. Like people will touch their head, or he just always like reaches down and touches his neck. He reaches and touches his neck. And he kind of raises his chin when he does it, but
that was like that was like the Tyson Paul fight, where Mike Tyson fighting the glove, and they were just literally arguing on it.
The first time that somebody watches like Damir Ismagulov fight, and he's like,
he's having a stroke.
That guy's like
having a stroke. Yeah. Either way, this is a great fight card. If you do want to check out every pick, every bet, every tool, they're all on the website right now. You unlock it instantly for $10. If you hate it, cancel. Who gives a shit? At $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Here's a look at what you'll get for those $10. Everything is inside of the app. So go to the App Store, search WeWantPicks, download that app. Costs you nothing to download the app. It's 100% free. And even if you are not a premium member, you'll still get push notifications with the doings. UFC 313, 2 fights were canceled right before that card started, and everybody with the app got a push notification. Inside the app, as well as on the website or a mobile browser, you'll have full access to the Optimizer. The Optimizer has a brand new beginner mode, which will walk you through logical steps to build a lineup. Instead of having to know how to use an Optimizer, it'll just ask you questions. Who do you think wins? Who do you think loses? You got a favorite underdog? Who don't you want to win at all? Answer a few questions and you're good to go. We have a fight simulator as well. This will simulate fights 100,000 times using historical grappling stats, historical striking stats, implied probability, and other data points. We have a tool called the Data Analyzer where you can do your own research. You can pull up any fight now or in the future, pull up the fighter, who they're fighting, all of the stats, all of the data. You can stack filters. You can narrow down to whatever you're looking for. And then you can even watch the actual fights themselves because we have a full tape index built into this tool. We have a line movement tracker. This will give you the opening odds, the current odds of win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. We have a tool called the Prop Hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. And then we have more than just me and baby Jake. We have Bet Sam, who has hit, I don't know how many Slam of the Weeks in a row, but a shit ton of them. We have Artem picking non-UFC fights at a remarkable accuracy. And with PFL back in business, Dana White Contender Series coming around the corner, you're going to need to check out Artem. And then we have an artificial intelligence picking fights based solely off of historical data. Every single thing we do, one package, no tiers, no bullshit, no upsells. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month's worth of access. Jakey boy, any last words for the people?
You know, there was a time when I was just a boy. You know, I was probably 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, right? And Papa had just got a new job in the city, right? And we were farm kids. We grew up on the farm, and I had this, you know, I had this goal, right? They Todd the goat, right? And Todd was a friend of mine, right? But as a family, we had to decide, Are we going to the city with
Okay.
Papa?
Yeah. No. It's going fucking nowhere. I sometimes I do like to be like, how long will this go? But then it's like, I think, yeah, that's the problem. Like, there's no.
I would have sat here for the next 3 hours telling that story.
It'd be like a Kai Cenat stream. Doesn't he do like those 24-hour I'm not leaving stream type things? That's what
I would
this
have been
be.
fucking Cory Booker on the Senate floor, pissing and shitting myself, talking for 25 hours straight like I'm some tough guy. I just wanted to break a record for
About a
whatever
goat.
weird reason. I don't know.
Dude, and you know they can't when they do that. Like how did he not piss himself?
He was wearing a diaper. He knew what he was
Literally?
doing. He went up there to break a record.
I don't know. He's wearing a diaper. That's fucking pathetic.
Of course he
and
did.
disgusting.
What do you? How else do you think he did it? You're not holding it for 24 hours.
You can hold shit for 24 hours. Yeah, not piss though. Gross, dude. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you. Good luck this weekend.